And now observe. The phrase has acquired quite the ring of some fragment of a Vedic hymn, just by returning it to sort of its original meanings of absolute, God, and so on, just by returning it to those meanings when they had their brilliance and their sort of lifetime. As now it sounds like a Vedic hymn. It even smacks of ancient Oriental mythology. I cannot say that I've restored this myth in full accordance with the strict laws that govern all language, but no matter for that. Enough if we have found that symbols in a myth in a sentence that was always essentially mythical and symbolic inasmuch as it was metaphysical. I think I've tried to make you realize one thing, Anatole France says, that any expression of an abstract idea can only be by analogy or metaphor. Can only be by analogy or metaphor. By an odd fate, the very metaphysicians who think to escape the world of appearance are constrained to it perpetually by allegory, metaphor, and analogy. They are a sorry lot of poets. A sorry lot of poets. They dim the colors of their ancient fables. And they are themselves but the gatherers of fables. They produce white mythology. Now Derrida comments, a formula, brief, condensed, economical, and mute, has been deployed in an interminably explicative discourse. The derisive effect which is always produced by the translation of anything Occidental into the Oriental ideogram. Anyway, that's supposed to be funny to really, like funny types of people, academics mainly. But they didn't find it amusing because in the history of philosophy, it's a hard it is the beginning of an argument that many of these words are words, I said being, if we went back, would be God. If we took that word back far enough, it would be the breath of the great beast of the East. Took that back, it would probably be the tree that stands the tallest, and so on. Once we've translated all that out, we do have kind of a Vedic hymn. And philosophy, according to Derrida, is doomed, as it were. If you want doomed to be the word, I think it actually can be playful. And Derrida is witty about it. It's not sad to him that philosophy cannot become finally a great science or anything. They are doomed to be a more or less sorry lot of poets. I mean, the better the poet, the better the wit, the better the philosophy in some cases for Derrida. He clearly likes a good joke. And part of the last argument that it's not an argument, it is an economical statement, mute, and so on, is supposed to be a joke too. But then the political intent is clear underneath it. If philosophy is white mythology, what's to keep us from teaching other mythologies at the university? Like women's mythologies, and black mythologies, and Hispanic mythologies, and Oriental mythologies. I hope you're beginning to see why Derrida began to upset people. If this was true, it wouldn't mean that white mythologies had lost their interest or that they weren't profound and worthy of study, but it would mean they were no more so than black mythology, Hispanic mythology, women's mythology. If I were to look for examples of Derrida's marginality of the spoken or the written word, the trace, the grammy, the many, and I've left out many sophistications here. Who cares? I'm not French. I don't eat soufflés. Forget it. I'm trying to get this across in the spirit of that Chicago Tribune article. This is the disturbing part to academics, is it opens up this road within which many other mythologies, if you will, can be spoken with equal right, as the dominant ones have been in the past. And I think that that is not at all a bad effect that Derrida's had. The fact that he has a sense of humor, I don't hold against him. I wish more academics did. I think it's pedagogically useful not to be a damn bore all the time and just, put people to sleep is pedagogically useful. After all, professors and lecturers have to compete with MTV Arnold Schwarzenegger in Jurassic Park, so I hardly think it's in our interest to be boring. And that's one thing Derrida certainly is not. And it's nice to encounter in the dark days that lay ahead as I trudge through and what a self can be, it's nice to encounter a playful spirit. Derrida is very troubled about what the self might even be. But he is troubled in the playful way that Nietzsche is troubled when he's at his best. And so I hope that I could at least interest you in looking at something of Derrida's. In fact, I'll leave you with one last little joke of Derrida's. So much work has been spent, and so much time has been spent interpreting Nietzsche, and now, of course, paradoxically, Derrida, because these things go on, that he wrote a little book called Spurs, Nietzsche's Style. And in it, he makes, he imagines that Nietzsche left behind among his many papers a little scrap of paper that says, "I forgot my umbrella." Then Derrida goes through a long, complex way that an academic interpreter would try to fit this brilliant aphorism of Nietzsche's into the body of his work. I mean, after all, it might just mean I forgot my umbrella, but on the other hand. And, of course, by the time, and this is a short little book that I think you could enjoy, by the time that Derrida is finished, I think that one has at least learned to be an interpreter with more grace and with a little bit more poetry, and perhaps it would free us for richer, more multicultural, more diverse, and more humane interpretations if we could free ourselves from the myth, the invidious myth, that there is a right way to read a book, one, a right civilization to belong to as though we chose it, a right gender to be as though we could pick it, a right class to belong to as though we chose those things, a right race to be, a certain mythology preferable to others, as in white, which according to some African American scholars today, insofar as it's Greek, was stolen from the Africans in the first place. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's certainly an interesting conjecture, and it's one in which the readings and the battles of interpretation, as Derrida points out, will not stop. There won't be a last book, and I'm afraid that also warns you that in this class, as in many others, there won't be a last word. Thank you very much.